Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana presenting the medium-term budget policy statement this afternoon. Newzroom Afrika reporter Nasiphi Same joins us live from outside Parliament. Nasiphi, very good morning to you. What is the situation there on the ground?
Well, Paul, the situation at the moment is that we are expecting a number of organizations to make their way here ahead of the medium-term budget, or rather the medium-term budget for the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, who we are expecting about 2 o'clock to make that statement. However, there are a number of various groups that will be picketing up until then outside Parliament, obviously with a number of expectations and also demands that they're hoping the Minister talks to. But I am joined by Amanda Ringquest here from Black Sash. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. But talk to us about some of, or rather, what are your expectations that you're hoping that the Minister touches on today?
Well, thank you so much for having us here. Yeah, we are here today and we are very expectant that the Minister will announce that the 350 grant will become permanent. It won't expire in March, and that it will be increased to the food poverty line, which is 650 rand. We are knocking on empty pots because the pots are empty. We are the only food secure country with a child hunger problem. And so we are saying that the Minister must have a proper plan to deal with the poverty and food crisis in South Africa. And that must take form of a grant that's permanent. And we must work towards universal basic income support for everyone.
Amanda, in the previous medium-term budget, Black Sash was also outside Parliament with the former Finance Minister, Newzroom, with similar, expectations. Do you think that, he will be attending to some of those challenges that you want him to address?
Well, I'm very afraid that Minister Godongwana is going to hold on to the same kind of austerity measures that his predecessor did, and that started with Trevor Manuel. We do not want austerity measures. We want a budget and we want a government that meets the needs of the poor. People are hungry. 12 million people applied for the 350 grant, and that's a staggering amount of money, amount of people who are saying they don't have the basic support to meet their needs of bread. And so we have higher expectations for the new minister, and we hope he will be more responsive than Mr. Mboweni was.
What happens if he's not as responsive as the previous finance minister?
I think we must look at the real consequences of what happens if he's not responsive. The consequences are that if we stop the 350 grant, 12 million people have no form of income. Of that 12 million, they represent numerous families who will go to bed hungry. It also represents a growing unemployment number that the minister is also probably not going to deal with. So we will see families and we will see children not have basic their needs met.
Amanda, I see one of your placards. You say refugees, asylum seekers, migrant workers with special permits must qualify for basic income support. Talk to us on that.
When it rains on all of us. And we have had 1.5 years or more of a hard lockdown, of increased unemployment, of a shrinking economy. And that doesn't just affect South Africans. That affects all people living here. And so people who have refugee asylum seekers, who are permanent residents, they are also entitled to the kind of support that we need. And so the Black Sash is saying that these things must be covered. We do not want people to starve. And so these policies that are implemented must be broad enough to cover those groups of people also.
Amanda, you speak about hostility from previous finance minister and the fact that there's millions of people that go to bed hungry. But, speaking to the people on the ground that you're here representing, what are they making out of the hostility that you spoke of earlier?
What are they? Well, I think that people are tired, and I think that comes out in the lack of voting. I think it comes out in the service delivery protests we continue to have across the country. People are tired of a government that bails out other big organizations, that can get itself its own big generator that's so loud, where people are sitting in the dark with empty pots. And I think that the chickens are going to come home to roost in South Africa if this minister and Minister Zulu from DSTV and the President don't do something about the desperate situation people are in this country.
Thank you so much, Amanda, from Blacksash there, with some of the expectations from the Minister of Finance in his maiden budget speech today. A couple of people behind us from Blacksash and another organization that is partnering with them, obviously hoping to greet the Minister with song, dance, including their expectations. We heard inside in Parliament various political parties and organizations with a number of expectations. However, it's yet to be seen around 2 o'clock whether the Minister of Finance will live up to some of the anticipations and expectations from outside of Parliament. Later on, we can expect a number of other groups with some challenges as well. There is a group called Exclude that will be marching from the CCMA to Parliament gates, hoping that their voices from outside the gates of Parliament echo all the way into the National Assembly, where the medium-term budget speech will be heard.
Very well. Let's leave it there for now. Nasiphi Same bringing us the very latest on the ground when it comes to the build-up ahead of the midterm budget policy, of course, with Minister Enoch Godongwana. We will continue getting reaction and gauging the sentiment on the ground and some of the major concerns and expectations ahead of that announcement at 2 o'clock.